28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
20 seconds. 19.
18. 17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12. 11.
10 seconds. 9.
8.
7.
6 what?
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to Subspace Chatter, the show where we boldly go into discussing Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Today we'll be discussing the 6th episode of the new series that's called... What's it called again? Lift Us Where
Suffering Cannot Reach.
Yeah. Escaped the title. Then joining me today is Vanessa and Marcelo. Do you want to introduce yourselves, guys?
Hello, my name is Vanessa and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
Hi, my name is Marcelo, and I am the co-host of two podcasts, one being dedicated to J.J. Abrams and his greater universe, Radio 815, and I also host another podcast called The Redwall Podcast that's all about me and my experiences as I go through life as a disabled individual. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Balloonhead Productions.
Cool, thanks. So talking about this episode of Strange New Worlds, then it deals with a species of aliens, the Magellans. Why do you think they're so technologically advanced and yet so behind with the design of their ships and weapons?
I really liked the sort of twist that this episode gave us, because when we first meet the Magellans, like their ships and their technology, like you just said, are so, they're so behind everybody else. But once you find out the big twist of what these people sacrifice for their technology, I thought it was just great. I thought this episode was fantastic in that the moral quandary that it presents was just great. And the fact that Captain Pike couldn't do anything about what these people do to sort of their king, or I forgot what they call the little
Servant,
child.
first servant.
Yeah.
First servant.
The fact that, Captain Pike couldn't do anything for this child who is the first servant of the people was more infuriating. And I really, really love this episode for various reasons, but the twist at the end as to how this character, the first servant, is integral to the civilization being so technically advanced as they are was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I thought that the reasons that the Magellans I thought that the reason that they weren't prioritizing weapons was because they don't have to. They're isolationist. They're much more interested in maintaining status quo on their planet and keeping their medical secrets from other people. So I guess they just didn't figure that. Also, they're pretty isolated, right? They're like on the edge of Federation space, right? So maybe they're
seems
not,
like they choose to be isolated as well.
Right. So it seemed like they were isolated enough, and that they didn't really have to prioritize defending themselves.
I thought it is sort of realistic. I've considered it long before this episode came out, and thought surely it is realistic that certain civilizations might concentrate more in specific areas of research and development, sort of thing. So next question, does Pike's reactions seem out of character for him?
No, I don't. I think his reaction to their big secret, once he finds it out, is consistent with the character. The fact that he, again, I just said a couple of seconds ago, the fact that he can't do anything about it because this civilization isn't under the Federation is, I think, the most interesting part and the most frustrating part for Pike as a character. But I really think everything that he does in this episode is in character. I mean, Yeah, and unless the person who wrote the question is talking about the little extracurricular thing that he does, like halfway through the episode with the sort of chancellor of the world. That was fun.
Right.
Come on,
Mhm.
everybody needs a little release now and then.
I thought that I think that the fact that his death sentence is on his mind really informs a lot of the decisions that he made in this episode. When, like Marcelo mentioned at the very end, when he found out that the planet's entire existence hinges on one child being sacrificed, and the fact that he delivered up this child to be sacrificed and having to wrestle with that all of a sudden and being completely powerless to stop it. I think all of those reactions were very normal. I think finding somebody from your past that you met at another time in your life and, didn't really explore that possibility. I think the emotions that he had towards her were very natural. One scene that I thought was extremely tender and touching was when Pike was sort of like vulnerable and lying in her embrace. You don't really see a lot of men, in my experience, watching television, being sort of like the little spoon in the equation too often. So I found that to be very in line with his character. Like he's just wanting a place to feel safe for a while. And, and also like one thing that I just realized is Pike has to face the idea that he may never be able to have children. Like, even if he didn't necessarily want any, he will never be able to live to see a child grow old. So I think there's a part of him that's wrestling with that as well. And I think there's a lot that lines up with Pike's character, absolutely.
One of the times I watched this episode, I accidentally fell asleep in the middle and then woke up before the end. And I think that was the first time I saw the end because I tried to watch it before then
Mhm.
quite a few times and found it like really confusing, really mind-boggling what was going on. And I was like,
Mhm.
Eventually, I was like, I need to watch this with subtitles, probably.
Mhm.
It's just so. And
There was a bit of an
it
audio
really
balance issue.
sort of stumped me that like the Magellans aren't like Magellan, like the scientist Magellan. And, like
Yeah, right.
they're trying to play on
Right.
that, but not make it exact. It's like, why
Mhm.
do that? It just
Right.
baffles me. And then at the end, there was like surely he's going to actually save the kids, but then he doesn't, and the episode just ends. And it was like, what?
Mhm.
No, the thing that really surprised me is that new Star Trek really doesn't kill children. And I was really, really impressed that the writers came up with this story and they went there. They didn't have
Mm,
Pike, go against his code and save the kid. They they made a decision and they stuck to it, and I
Mhm.
applaud them for that. I really, really do. Also, I also had problems understanding the plot the first time I watched the episode. I had to watch it twice before I
Yeah.
really got a good understanding of the story that they were trying to tell this week.
mm.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of little pieces that if you missed it, it would be a little more difficult to understand. So it did take me a second watch as well.
because like I realize now, like one of those pieces that I didn't get at first was like if he tries to save the kid, well, it said that the kid will die. But then
Mhm.
I thought but like surely like the number of times that a character technically dies, but then is like beamed up by the Enterprise and like saved by medical,
Right.
magic of the 23rd century or whatever. Because I thought of like specifically of like a mock time where Kirk,
Mhm.
dies or he's at least it's near death, and then like he's beamed up and saved. So why couldn't they do the same with the kid? But then I
Right.
did think, well, this society, it's not just the Enterprise that is so. Um, advanced medically and technologically, but the society is as well. So maybe like they do
Mhm.
know that like if the kid was detached, the kid would die.
Mhm.
No, and also if the kid is detached from the machine, then you just said it, the kid would die. But also, the administrator of the planet. I can't remember her name. Sorry, guys. I'm horrible with
Mhm.
names. But
Alora,
she,
I believe.
I'm sorry,
Alora.
Alora. She
Mhm.
did hint that if the kid doesn't go through this, the planet will blow up, or the
Right.
winds. So there is that to
Mhm.
consider as well. Like
Mhm.
either you try to save the kid, and because you
Mhm.
tried to save the kid, you doom this planet to death, basically. So
Although,
Right.
yeah,
Also,
although a lot.
also, like their medical technology is way ahead of what the Enterprise has. So even if they
Mhm.
did beam the kid out, there's probably some sort of subatomic thing they can't even deal with.
right.
But regarding the planet, like I've seen like people on Facebook and stuff commenting like like why don't they just like um move to a different planet since like they can. They've got that. They've got
Right.
space flight.
Like that other one, they said that was not that inhabitable. It didn't look very explodey. It didn't have rivers of lava
Mm.
going through it. It wasn't as bad. So
Prospect 7,
right.
which sort of reminded me of interaction with the Sona and Buku a
Hmm.
little bit.
No, I mean, I think the reason why these people didn't leave the planet and sort of just move to another one is writer's convenience. I mean, I do it all the time when I can't come up with a good enough logical reason for my characters to do something. I just fall back on a thing, and I expect my audience to go with it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's also just a question of like, asking people to move from their ancestral home, not as,
It's a lot.
easy an undertaking. They're very like spiritual people, so they're probably very connected to that place.
Right.
So was Pike's objection to the Magellan's way of life ethical, or was it his guilt talking?
Um, I don't I don't know. It wasn't. I think I think he did. I, he tried to save the kid, so I don't think it
Mhm.
was. I don't think it was his guilt talking. He
Mm-hmm.
had no choice. Like
Mhm.
like he was put in a situation where whatever he did, he would lose.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like I pointed out, this civilization w- isn't under the Federation's rule. So or
Right. So
the
there's
Fed-
prime directive.
right. So yeah, so I just think that whatever again, I just think whatever he would have chose, like he couldn't win. So that's what I think. It's a very difficult question to answer.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that as well. Objectively speaking, for the Magellans, isn't science, service, and sacrifice the same as the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny that you put it like that because when I was thinking about my review, I, that quote didn't pop into my head, but a quote similar to that popped into my head. So I do think the Magellan's needs, go over the life of these children that they sacrifice to live on, to keep living and to keep being a technological society. I think what they do is wrong and immoral, but it's not like they haven't tried to find another way around it. They've tried, or so
Mm-hmm.
they've said
Right.
that they've tried
Like
to.
who knows how hard they tried. Had they tried just not killing children? Just not like, there's certain civilizations where they believe that human sacrifice was necessary to make the sun go up. So it's
Right.
like, and obviously at certain point they had to stop and reckon with the fact that they were just doing that for no reason. Um, yeah, I think um I do think Pike, like, to me, was feeling a bit guilty too. Like, I think he really felt like he could have known sooner. He could have had some kind of clue. Like, maybe Alora didn't tell him um, because she knew that because Pike sacrificed himself for children, that he would be willing to do that again. And so he kept that from him. So.
And what difference does it make that he tells Alora about the vision he experienced of his future, do you think?
I think that the fact that he was willing to open up to her with that, very personal secret to him, I think that's what makes her think that that he will ultimately go along with what these people have to do to ensure the continuous of their society. I think that conversation that he has with her after they sleep together, I think that's what makes her think that Pike will ultimately go along with what they had to do to this kid. So, yeah.
Right. As long as she omitted the part that, oh yeah, we're killing him at the end. Like really, really waited till the last possible second to share with him. And like hopefully he's cool with it. Hope it's okay. Hope that, and we have like that Star Trek theme of like cultural relativism where it's like, do we respect this? Do we believe, are we on board with this? Are we going to stand by and watch this? It's uncomfortable, but the Federation has a very clear boundary around what you can and can't do.
Do you think like the viewers have like a similar boundary? Like, do you think people might feel differently if it was adults instead of children?
Um, I don't know, because I'm a very, very dark person. So when you guys are gonna call me a monster, but when I see kids sacrificed in science fiction, I just smile because I'm a dark person. I'm very, I'm very evil in that way. Um, so I don't know if I would have felt differently if it was a adult. I would have said, "Hey, this is what this civilization has to do. It's not like they didn't try a way around this. You might think this is unethical, or I might think this is unethical, but this is what the society has to do." And like I said countless times in discussion already, Pike can't do anything. He can't do anything. The most he can do is hop around and be mad, which he was. But yeah, so.
Who do you think the us in the episode's title is referring to?
I think
No, go ahead.
I think it could have been. I think it applies to a lot of different people. I think it applied to the Magellan people because they're being literally lifted into the air in this society. I think it also could have been Pike because there was that carrot dangled in front of him of possibly being a citizen of this planet and therefore not suffering the fate that was lined out to him in his vision. I think it was Laura because she once again met her lost love. It's also the people on the Enterprise who are literally being lifted into the air by a ship. So I think there's a lot of there. It could be applied in myriad of different ways.
I echo that sentiment. I think it can be applied to the Magellan people, to the to the offer that Pike was given, and yeah, I think it can be applied to in many different ways as well. I agree with that 100%.
My like thinking of it was that it just like applied to the kids, but yeah, you've like really opened my mind to like how many different people it could potentially refer to. I think that's pretty cool. And you mentioned like the characters in the Enterprise. Let's talk a bit more about them. Like, do you agree with M'Benga's choices in this episode?
Well, I have a problem with M'Benga. If you guys have been watching my reviews, you know what the problem is. But I think he should have let his daughter die a couple episodes ago because of what he did led to like the giant problem on the Enterprise. But I am happy for him that he is closer to having a cure for what ails his daughter. I still can't understand. Like the Federation can cure a million different things, but they can't cure a type of cancer. Really? Come on, guys. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Well,
the Federation should do better. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. I know someone online was saying, like, if they literally translated the condition that she's suffering from, it means she's turning into a swan.
Right.
I actually thought that Mabenga did yet another thing that could cost him his job, which is ask a non-Federation world for technology under the table. That's a violation of that. You can't do that, because who knows what'll happen. Like, what if he gets the technology and doesn't know how to use it and causes like another problem on the ship? You know, if the technology is beyond the Federation and he doesn't know how to use it, then it could cause a lot of damage. And also, another crappy thing he does is ask that little child to keep a secret. He's asking a child, oh, don't tell anybody about this. And, you know, much to your joy, Marcelo, he dies, and so the secret dies with him. So it's fine. But like,
I'm a monster, guys. I'm sorry. Just
but
lock me
like
up.
it's but yeah, I think Mabenga is a very, like, in one specific regard, he's an extremely selfish character, but I think that selfishness could cost him, cost the ship, could cost the ship and the crew in the end.
No, it'll be, it'll be really interesting to see if eventually his attempts to cure his daughter costs his ship in the end, like you just said. And I'm curious if his experiments do end up costing the ship in the end. I'm wondering if this time, number one, will come down on him the way she should have, because he should have been arrested for what he did the first time. Now,
Or just
initially,
let go.
yeah, initially I thought that I wanted to give him 6 months in the brig, and I wanted to make him sort of say goodbye to his daughter one more time and have that storyline cleaned up. But with that being said, I'm totally not a monster. I would like to see how he handles this and if he can figure out how to cure his daughter.
It's a girl not permanently in the refrigerator, in other words. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, some way to progress her condition so that she's just not stuck in this pattern buffer.
Right.
So Sam Kirk makes an appearance in the episode, very brief appearance. Do you think his presence was necessary for the episode's narrative?
No. He didn't need to be there.
It's just a fan wink nudge, like, hey guys, look, we remember this character. It's not, and the conflict averse line was pretty cute, but it didn't really, it could have been said by anybody else. It's fine.
I thought that was sort of like a bit ironic, given like how he ends up being portrayed in the original series with basically conflict with the Denevan parasite things.
It could have been Hemmer. It didn't have to be him.
Yeah.
It could have been Hemmer. I would have much rather seen Hemmer again than see this gentleman again.
I think I'm missing Hammer with him not being not only in this episode but last week's as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so does the Enterprise, the flagship of the fleet, have no senior comms officers? We've seen Uhura at comms when she's a cadet, but then also like ensigns Christina and Shankar.
I don't understand. Here's another big issue that I've been having. I understand that Uhura is a cadet. I get that, but I don't understand why she's doing a rope like rotation. Shouldn't you already have a idea of what position you want to do? Like, shouldn't you do all your rotations before you start serving on a ship?
I think she's figuring it out.
Okay.
Yeah, she said like in her episode, Children of the Comet, that she was still like kind of figuring out like what she wanted to be in Starfleet, or if she even wanted to be in Starfleet at all. So I think it makes sense that she would try out different things. Security seems way out of her purview. Like, not something that's like, not that she wouldn't be capable, but like not something that would characterize her as being interested in.
Also, I feel that she really hasn't been given an opportunity to really show off her talents as a linguistic individual. So liked it that in this episode she was given all those data tapes by Laan, and she
Mhm.
ended up uncovering a big piece of the puzzle that led to the big mystery of this episode. So I really,
Right.
really appreciated that, because it's one of the first times that I go, "Oh, she can actually do some linguistics things." I'm like,
Right.
"Yay!" So I really
Mm.
appreciated that.
Mhm.
I appreciated like the Klingons were referenced in the scene, one of the
Mhm.
scenes with them together.
Oh,
And I thought like the sort of transitions or rotations that Yura's going on, I think is quite interesting to see, like the different departments. I thought like they could have maybe delved into that a bit more,
Mhm.
because you know the way that you're seeing security, you're seeing it the perspective of like a security officer on the bridge or whatever.
Mhm.
You're not actually like surely like there's a bit of the ship, at least.
Right.
Obviously there is for medical for
Well,
sick bay.
when she shadowed Hemmer, there was
Yeah,
a bit more focus on that.
in the cargo bay.
So that was nice. I think it was much more focused on their relationship
Mhm.
than the actual task at hand.
Yeah.
So but I don't necessarily think that was necessarily for the better. I do enjoy both of these characters very much though.
Hmm. And speaking like more about Laan, how often do you think she's quoting the rules? Like everyone seems to know what they are, but she came on the ship in the pilot episode.
she is awesome. So she can quote rules for the entire duration of the show. I do not care. She's awesome. She's one of my favorite characters. I just like the way that she plays the character. She plays it with a, well, Hemmer's got the Odo thing going on, but she plays it with a level of seriousness that only Una, like she just has a very stern demeanor, and she doesn't really let her hair down that often. So I'm very interested to see if there's an episode in season 2, or maybe an episode later on this season, where we get to see a different side of her, and
Mhm.
we get to see her sort of relax. And I'm not counting the episode where they did nothing for an hour, last week's episode. So I don't want to talk
Mhm.
about that one. But yeah, she's one of my favorites. I don't know if that was answering your question, but
I reminded of Robin Leffler's rules from
Mm.
TNG, where she
From
had
the
like an
game.
entire book. I don't think that Lon's rules are quite that obnoxious and annoying and prescriptive, um, but practical. Leave no stone unturned. What was it that she said that would have been like looking at a Mugato or something? Rule number
Magathan,
7.
some kind of Magathan stones,
Yeah.
she says.
That's like
Yeah.
a weird lower decks reference because I think there was an episode where Shax kept tasting it.
Oh, right.
oh no, that's when no, that's when Mariner, Boimler, and they went to they discovered the Ferengi. They had the Magato prison, and
Mhm.
Right,
and they,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
also like the Megatos from Private Little War.
I think, well, they maybe their crew from different ships that sort of like are aware of her rules. This seems like something about someone that would get around in Starfleet. Like, oh, she has those rules. Like, she would have that reputation. So that's how I would assume. Like, that's how I read it, is that she just has this reputation of having these really strict ideas of how security should be run.
Mhm. So like going forward from this episode, I wonder like what would you like to see on the show?
I would like to see an episode about my beloved Chapel. Where's my Chapel episode? Where is it? Like, I
Mhm.
want a Chapel episode. I love Chapel. So
Yes.
and the other thing that I would like to continue to see is, another reason why I love this episode so much is because I felt over the first half of the season, I felt that we haven't gotten enough of number 1
Mhm.
with Pike, and
Yes.
we haven't seen her Phil, be on his hip dealing with a certain situation. So I
Yeah.
really like that she was really a part of this episode, and she was there, as opposed to being off with another character doing
Mhm.
God knows what.
Yeah, she
But
had to do with the A plot.
right. but I love the fact that she was just there. I really do. So I hope that continues. Also, I want to see more of Hemmer. I
Mhm.
I need to see more Hemmer because I just when I hear him talk, I'm like, that's Odo. Come on, that's Odo. So I just got I love Hemmer, so I would love to see more of him as well.
Vanessa?
I would like to see a resolution to the Mobenga story. Like, where is this going? Is he going to act in other ways that are going to be self-destructive or destructive to the ship and the crew? Is
He's gonna get fired.
going to find out, and is Pike going to give him a pass because he's sacrificing himself for children? I would also like to see, more of Una and Pike working together. I would also like to see more backstory on Hemmer. He's sort of a little flat because he hasn't been in enough episodes to be rounded out. So I would like to see more backstory and like a little bit more development from him besides just warming up to Uhura. Yeah, I'm really excited for more of this. This is a really great first season for a Star Trek show.
Cool. I keep wishing like. I keep maybe wishing's the wrong word, but like excited to see Klingons and Enar Hammer species turn up.
Klingons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We gotta do the Klingons again, really? Do we have to? Do we have to, guys? We have to.
Well, this
I'm here
era,
for it.
it's a little bit, yeah.
Do you guys think they're gonna have the ridges, or is like they're gonna have no ridges when they show up? Because they're coming, but
Mm-hmm.
like, do you guys think we're gonna see the ridges or no ridges?
Well, I know the answer already.
Oh, you probably yeah, that's right. You know the answer.
Yeah.
Right. So
I hope so. I hope we just get like, either motion picture or TNG style, which would be fine.
right.
But I'm not gonna be upset if they look completely different. Like
Actually, have there been any species like none come to mind? Well, I guess the Enar. I was trying to think of like a species that has been portrayed like differently in Strange New Worlds makeup wise than like previously, because like in previous
Bolians.
episodes, but the makeup wasn't really that changed. I think the Enar looks a bit more different from how they were portrayed in Enterprise.
Yeah, I really wish they had the articulate antenna. I really thought that brought like a whole dimension to the character that isn't there otherwise.
I kept meaning to like find out what people thought about that and if they were missing that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to alien design, I'm not too like the way that aliens are designed on Star Trek really don't bother me. That's why in the first season of Discovery, when everybody was going crazy mad about the Klingons looking so different, I didn't care. But yeah, no. And the other thing that I would like to see moving forward, I just want to put this second thing in there. I want to see some new aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would love to see. I mean, I love the aliens that we've gotten so far, but I would love to see some new ones that we've never heard of before, and that we've never seen before.
I was thinking they've done that quite a lot, apart from the Gorn. Like I think like each episode.
But we didn't see the Gorn. I wanted to see the Gorn, man.
Right. There's just a lot of aliens in Star Trek in general where there's just different variations of kind of scarring makeup on the forehead, something like that.
Yeah.
So
with this one, I was thinking like,
I was like, this is like such a callback in so many ways. Like this is very like idyllic world that has a dark side, TOS, TNG type of thing, where it's like there's something wrong, kind of, and the aliens are typically extremely close to exactly like a person, like a human.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, because I was thinking like clearly like the plot has. Allura being like a love interest for Pike. So with that sort of, when they take that approach with any episodes, it's usually like we're going to use minimal makeup on them because we want to retain like physical beauty of the person playing the character. I
really hope they don't. I really hope that another Pike Lost Love is like completely like I mentioned before, like on Deep Space Nine, where you hear it in conversation that Jadzia Dax was having dinner with a guy where you could see his brain through his skull, like something like that, Why not make it? Why only someone that's like conventionally pretty? Why not somebody that's like completely covered in goo?
Are you still enjoying the more episodic nature of Strange New Worlds rather than serialized?
I am. I'm really enjoying the week to week adventure, and with that being said, I also am enjoying the serialization. But I really love having a different adventure every week.
Yeah, I actually find it to be fairly serialized. Like there's some bits that might not grok if you're just like watching one episode at a time, but they are consumable as individuals. And I do enjoy that. They're very rewatchable because there's a lot of different things to enjoy. All the plots have a lot of really cool and entertaining elements. So the way that they're balancing the serialization and the episodic nature of it, while making it exciting week to week, I think it's doing a really good job with it.
Cool. Yeah, Marcelo, what you were going to say?
Yeah. I would love it if they did something in this series that would tick a whole lot of people off. I would love it if they put Spock together with Chapel, and they have like a grand romance throughout the show. Like, I understand that would rub a whole lot of fans the wrong way, but I really don't give a. I'm not too big on canon. That's another thing about me.
Yeah, it looks like they're going in that direction
Yeah.
a little bit.
And also, Dan, maybe you can bring some light to this, or you might not want to do that because we are on the air. But I'm really interested to see if James T. Kirk is going to show up at the end of the season, like just to say, "Hey, guys," or if they're just gonna save him for season 2. So
Yeah, it's been announced that he's saved for season 2.
okay, well I missed that. Thanks, Dan. I missed that one.
Yeah, there was like pictures of it, and then there was a bit of a kerfuffle about, oh, is he going to be captaining, right? Like, is he going to, jump in and get rid of Pike midway through or something?
And is he aboard the Farragut at this time, or how is he?
Yeah, well, when news of Kirk coming onto the show, I was extremely worried because I thought that he was going to come into the show and it was going to become the James T. Kirk show with Pike's crew, and that's not what I want. So I really hope that Kiba Goldsman and Henry Alonzo Myers balance out the show in such a way that it doesn't become a show about James T. Kirk. Like, I don't want that. And yeah, so also I am hoping that the quality of writing stays at the level of this episode, because for me the writing has been okay, serviceable, but not great yet. Except for this week. This week's was really great.
Well, like, that was one question I just thought of, like, regarding the quality of the writing. Is there any ways that you think like this episode could have been improved on or not?
I would have loved to learn more about I forgot the name of the planet already. Jeez, my brain.
Jealous.
Yes. I would have loved to been told some more history about the planet and learn a little bit about the scientist people who built this machine for this child to be put into. Like, why did the scientists do that? Did they do that out of malice, or did they discover that that's the only way that they could have kept their society and their planet whole? Like, I would have loved to seen a little bit more exploration with that, basically.
Yeah. Like, I would have liked to see, what if the kid said no? I don't want to do it. I changed my mind. What would they do? Just get another kid? Or is it like, oh, it only can be this specific kid. What if that kid is on a field trip that day? Like it just like what if like had they like I said, had they ever considered just not doing it and seeing what happens, like we'll have like the kid on standby, and if the cities begin to sink into the lava, okay, we'll go ahead and just shove them in there in the last second. Or like I also took there was like one line where I was like, and that was when Alora said, oh, on your world, can you really just honestly say that you turn away when a kid is suffering? Like, do you turn away when a kid's suffering and have elite, enjoy their lives while they're suffering? And it's like, actually, and I'm not a actually endorser. I'm not into mansplaining. That was the one time where I'm like, you could have explained that actually in the Federation, human suffering and scarcity and poverty is sort of, we're trying to make it a thing of the past if it hasn't been already for all Federation citizens. So really that point was a bit of a weak one to justify killing somebody. Like,
Well,
yeah.
I assumed that she'd already know all about that with
Yeah.
the Federation presumably having like looked into the possibility of Federation membership.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, do they? She mischaracterized the Federation as a way to make an argument to kill children. That was it was a very shaky,
Yeah, I was
shaky
I
justification.
literally can't think of any kids in the Federation who would be, because they wouldn't have
Like
Federation
there's
membership if that was the
colonies,
case. But then I did
right?
think, well, there's occasional, the Enterprise and Kirk's Enterprise is like occasionally like visiting planets that are suffering from starvation and stuff like
Right.
that.
And then you
And
have like,
there's also what crossed my mind is stuff like the Romulan Empire might be
mhm.
some planets there that might be suffering or
Well,
whatever
the
due to the
Romulan Empire
Federation.
is outside of Federation jurisdiction, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and then
But
you have
because of the
like,
Federation.
and the children shall lead, where people on Triacus are like killing themselves in a human colony, and that's really messed up. And yeah, so there is like some episodes where they show colonies that didn't turn out so hot, things went awry.
Yeah,
But
like
for the
Kirk was in
most
one.
part, at least on Earth for sure, they're not going to go, oh, well, a kid in poverty, no big deal. Like they sort of like characterize the Federation with a callousness that is incorrect.
And then regarding the kids, like I just thought like maybe they're like just like brainwashed from a very early age, just like to
Mhm.
accept that that will happen to them. Because like
Right.
the culture does seem extremely sort of organized as to like which kids it will be, because she says like when there's another first servant and such and such, but Alora refers to the next one specifically as a she, and I was like, how do they know that unless it's like really well thought out, sort of in regards to who to choose from the kids.
The Federation is not perfect, so I don't. So I have no doubt that the Federation has done squirrely things to get the result that they want. Like us as Star Trek fans, we think that the Federation is above board on everything, but the truth is they're probably not. So I had no issue with the comment that she made to Pike. I have no qualms or problems with that. I understand if you as a fan do, but for me, that I had no issue with that. So to just bring it back a
I,
little bit to that
Like
point.
making it
I think it was just
unequivocally true. Like like flat, like that is a Federation policy to turn away from human suffering of children, like especially of children, like that,
Is
to
it a human
characterize
policy
the
like
Federation quite that way unilaterally as a fact,
Oh,
that was an issue. But it's
okay.
not that it doesn't happen, but to say, oh yes, the Federation does this constantly as a rule of
mhm.
thumb. I don't know. But
Okay,
yeah,
but
I hear you. They're not perfect.
right.
Yeah, I just thought of like Bashir, like in, for example, like in his childhoods and uh, not being able to say like to the rest of the Federation who's genetically engineered and stuff. It was another example of kids who might be suffering. Marcelo, do you want to say something?
No, I had something. I'm sorry. I had something in my throat. I'm sorry.
All right, okay, no problem. So how many ranked pips out of 5 would you give this episode, and basically any final thoughts?
I love this episode. I thought this episode was as close to perfect as a first season episode as that we're gonna get. Granted, I haven't seen the rest. So maybe the episode next week will just blow my socks off and I'll love it even more. There's only one thing I didn't like about this episode. One tiny thing that annoyed the crap out of me. When La'an, Spock, and Uhura went down to the crashed ship that the ambassador was on and the kid was on, they were not wearing any armor at all. So I'm like, how do you guys know that it's okay to, like, why aren't you guys choking to death right now? Like this makes no sense. It's like that drove me mad. Did that drive you guys mad? Because it drove me mad. It's like,
I presumed they would have scanned the atmosphere inside the craft.
Okay, it would have been safe. But then show us that or tell us that. Don't just do this and expect us to accept it. But with that being said, out of like 5 pips, I would give this episode 4 pips. It was great.
I really I would give it also, like, I would say 4.5. I really enjoy the bioethical question it brings up. I really enjoy that in terms of the Federation and its standards and its rules and practices, that their hands are kind of tied. And it's meant to make you uncomfortable. Like this episode is a different tone, and I think it does it very successfully. Yeah.
So I would probably give it 1 pip out of 5. I thought it was the worst episode of this season so far, and probably like the worst like my least favorite episodes I've seen of Star Trek in years.
Huh. I got nothing to say to that.
care to elaborate?
Yeah, I'm like, what?
I was like, what? As I said, like near the start, I was like, what? Pikes are really going to like let this child abuse, like institutionalized and planet wide, like continue, and say nothing about it? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like,
Well, I think he
highly immoral.
No, well, I think he is going to say something to Starfleet at some point, but again, him and Starfleet, they can't do anything because this colony or this planet isn't under the Federation. If they were under the Federation, this episode or the third act of this episode would have been very different.
Yeah, it's very much like the Apple or Justice or things like that.
He doesn't really adhere to Federation law or principle or whatever when he's saying, like, to number 1, he's going to keep the secret of her Illyrian like heritage, or there's quite a few things that he said, like, I'm going to ignore what the Federation says. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's also a great interpolation of the fact that he's sacrificed himself for children, and in this, he actually is the person who puts the child in danger. That he has to deal with that.
I value it as a thought-provoking exercise in a thought-provoking episode.
Yeah, I'm not trying to convince you to change your opinion, by the way. I'm just like,
I'm getting there. I'm like, maybe it's a 2. But yeah, today I'd really like to thank the panelists for joining this discussion, and we hope you, our viewers, have enjoyed it. Let us know in the comment section what you thought about this episode of Strange New Worlds, and please remember to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time. Track you later.